Roomies. It's Maria, and
This is Lindsay.
yes, coming to you live. Getting ready to talk about The Heathers. It's Lindsay's first time ever seeing this movie. The movie is pretty iconic. Uh, Particularly, it came out in 1988, 1989, actually. And right, at that time, John Hughes movies, teen movies were the thing, right? So Sweet 16, um, The Breakfast Club, all that kind of stuff. Those were the really popular films at the time. And so they wanted to do something that was a little darker because the John Hughes movies always have like a happy ending, right? Rich guy gets the girl, poor girl gets the guy, whatever. So they wanted to do something a little darker with Heathers. And Heathers has like people you definitely know, have seen through at least the 90s. You've got Christian Slater, you've got Winona Ryder, Shannon Doherty are like the three major ones that, grew in popularity after this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it takes place in a high school in Sherwood, Ohio, where the Heathers are this clique of three girls named Heather and then Veronica, who's played by Winona Ryder. And I really like how they have a color story for every single one of them, right? So Heather McNamara, or Heather, Red Heather anyway, she wears red's color of power. You got Shannon Doherty, whose Heather wears green, the color of envy and jealousy, right? And then you
hmm
have, I'm sorry?
I was agreeing.
Oh, okay. And that's okay. And then you also have Lisa Ann Falk who is Heather McNamara. She wears yellow, which can be a color for sunny happiness, and then also a color for kind of cowardliness, like yellow belly, yellow liver kind of thing.
hmm
Um, Heather's is pretty, as I said, iconic. You got Jawbreaker that takes after it a lot. You also got Mean Girls that takes after it a lot. Quite a few of the movies in the 90s take some part of the Heathers and working into their story. Um,
Yeah.
Even to the point where there was a Heathers TV series in 2018, which nobody talks about because it was not good. And then, but there's a much more successful Heathers the musical that came out in 2010, and I believe is still like touring and things like that. So it's done pretty well for itself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the Heathers was originally supposed to be. They wanted it directed by Stanley Kubrick, which can you imagine?
Yeah,
Kubrick the
I
Heathers.
saw that.
That's
Yeah, that
crazy.
would have been. It would have totally went left had they had him.
That would have been very interesting to see.
Yes, absolutely.
But it was
Absolutely.
directed by Michael Lehman and written by Daniel Waters. And these, they're the popular clique, these Heathers in the group, right? They terrorize pretty much their schoolmates. Like, even though they're
Uh-huh.
at the top, nobody seems to really like them. Veronica's the only one who has any little bit of humanity towards her. Because, like, in the one of the first scenes in the movie, they've decided that they're going to pick on this woman, this classmate, Martha Dunstock, who they all call Dump Truck because she's fat.
hmm
And apparently she has no friends. And because of this, I guess. And so what they do is they write a note pretending that it's from one of the jocks, that he's like really in love with her or whatever, and he really wants to be with her or something like that, right? And they give it to her. And when she reads the letter and she gives it back to the guy, like, did you? They start laughing at her, and she
Yeah.
runs out of the cafeteria, which was that was so painful for me.
So mean.
It was so
So.
painful because, like, for me in high school, like, some people would dare somebody else to kiss me, right?
Oh
And
wow.
then other people would point at me and say, "That's your girlfriend," and then laugh.
Oh
So
wow.
I related
Yeah.
to Martha a lot. Like, she really broke my heart, especially because we don't really get to see too much of anything from her.
hmm
Um, there is this other scene of her where she's in the gym and she's wearing this shirt that says "Big Fun," and I just would have loved to have known how she felt about that shirt. Because for me, I was like, "Oh, I would wear that. That's cute. It's kind of cheeky, whatever." But in high
hmm
school, I don't know that I would have worn that. Like, how did she get that shirt? Yeah.
Yeah. You know what I was wondering, especially like with them dealing with younger people, which I don't know if they probably was like technically adults or barely adults. But I
Mhm.
was wondering if they had any like people there, like therapists or something like that,
Oh,
because they
probably
kind of
not.
dealt, yeah. Which, yeah, in that time they probably didn't even think of it, but golly, they was dealing with a lot.
It hurt my feelings.
Yeah,
It really did.
yeah,
Um, yeah, because even though this movie is iconic and a classic for many, there are a lot of things in this movie that absolutely do not and should not fly today. There's like a lot of slurs, um, and mentioned in
yeah,
jokes and stuff like that. There's a lot of sexual assault
yeah,
in this
yeah,
movie as well. So keep that in mind.
yeah.
Um,
Golly.
but anyway, right after they do this really horrible bullying thing to Martha, um,
Hmm.
Veronica is eyeing up this new kid, and this new kid is JD. What is JD, like almost like James Dean, right? Because he's a
Yeah,
rebel without a cause, played by
yeah.
Christian Slater, and you know they're making eyes at each other. They have a little content. They have a little conversation in the cafeteria, and these two jocks are like really intimidated by this. They feel like he should not be talking to one of the Heathers, I guess. So they're like going to go over there and intimidate him, whatever, because they can't just beat him up because they're seniors now.
Right, right.
So they go over there to try and talk and smack to him, but he doesn't care. He gives it right back to them. And when they're confused, he pulls out a gun and shoots. And I hadn't
Yeah.
seen this movie in a long time, and I don't think I ever really started from the beginning,
Uh-huh.
because I did not remember that part at all.
Yeah. That
um,
part shocked me because I just knew that, excuse me, I just knew that that was probably like a dream sequence that he was gonna
right,
wake up or something like that.
that's
But
exactly. I was
no.
like, oh, so this is a dream,
Right.
right? Because this is not
Right.
actually happening. But it's not. And apparently, he's like shooting with blanks. Right now, here's the thing: blanks can kill you if you're close enough, and they can make you deaf if you're close enough. So
Mm.
just because they're blanks doesn't mean they're completely safe.
Right,
Um,
right.
Also, you have a gun at school and you're shooting your classmates,
Yeah. Like
and
I
he
thought
only gets suspended.
right, right. Like in 2022 he would have definitely went to jail. Like he would have most definitely went to jail.
100%. And
Yeah.
Red Heather at the time was like, he should go to jail. I'm like, yeah, Red Heather, I agree.
Yeah.
Don't make me agree with you. You're a
Right,
horrible
right,
person.
right.
But yeah, you know, um, and so it kind of starts off that way. I think it's really like, because I watched this a couple of times, and for this, and there's really just kind of a theme of nobody really caring about what's happening to anybody else,
Mhm.
and that's on purpose, right?
Yeah.
Everything is just kind of brushed off. Nobody really gets deeper than surface level for the most part, right? So
Hmm.
they're like, oh, well, he didn't really hurt anybody, so suspension. When, you should be like, what's going on with this kid who's bringing a gun to school? Maybe he should see somebody, right?
Right, right. Absolutely.
But
Yeah,
they
but
don't. So,
yeah.
and then later that evening, Veronica attends a frat party with Red Heather, and it's for a nearby college, Remington College or whatever. And the guys are drunk and aggressive, and Red Heather gets coerced into a sexual act. Veronica is almost sexually assaulted. Well, he comes on way too strong. This other guy.
Mhm.
Um, you know, Trying to get in her pants, but she's like, I don't feel good, so I'm gonna leave. And so Heather's like, well, we need to stay. This party is, if you don't get into this party now, you're just gonna be hanging out with kids and blah blah blah. And Veronica throws up her shoes.
Mm.
And later on, they're fighting because Veronica doesn't want to do this anymore. She doesn't like being a part of the Heathers anymore. Like,
Mhm.
she doesn't want to go to these dumb parties where she doesn't have a good time. And and Heather was like, "Well, this is the thanks that I get for inviting you to this college party." Da, 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 all this vomit on my shoes. And Veronica says, "Lick it up, baby, lick it up," which is one of the quotable lines from this film that
Mm.
I've heard a lot, and I've also heard "I love my dead gay son" a lot. because it's such a weird thing to say. Like, it's so what? Um, it is supposed to be a dark comedy,
Hmm.
but I think it's a little uneven on the dark and comedy part. Like, maybe it's because we're seeing it through 2022 eyes, whereas some of the things they're doing are much more serious to us today.
Yeah,
I don't know, right?
yeah, yeah. That's a possibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after, this party, Veronica meets JD. They get together. They talk about how much they dislike the jocks and how much she dislikes the Heathers. And so the next morning, they go over to Red Heather's house. Veronica just wants to play a drink on her to make her sick, like she was the night before. Uh, JD wants to poison her with Drano cleaner, basically. And Veronica's like, no, don't do that. Like, she laughs it off, you know.
Hmm.
And she's like, no, we'll just give her like milk and orange juice mixed together and make her puke, whatever. And so she thinks that's what she's giving to Heather, but unbeknownst to her, JD knows there's Drano cleaner in that.
Hmm.
She gives Heather the drink. Heather's like, I'm not going to drink this. JD challenges her. Of course, she takes the challenge and she downs it, right?
Hmm.
And she dies pretty quickly.
Extremely quickly.
Yeah. Of course, JD and Veronica are like, oh, we got to make it like a suicide. So Veronica writes a suicide note in Heather's handwriting and everything. Um, and so everybody buys it, and they have this funeral for her, where each like different students from the class get up to pray next to her coffin, which I've never
Yeah.
seen that before, but okay. Um,
Right. That was so weird
uh,
to me because is that what they do in other religions? Like, I'm confused.
I have no idea. I have no idea. I've never seen that before.
Yeah.
But that part was pretty funny because you're getting to hear their internal monologue, yeah, about
Yeah.
what they're thinking of at the moment. And
Right.
everything is very me, 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 right?
Hmm.
Nobody's really thinking about Heather or Heather's family or anything like that,
Right.
which could be it's a testament to who Heather was and then also who these people in this town are.
Right. Right. Exactly. But I think I would have, like, I get it for like visual because you're there with the body, it's still an
Mhm.
open casket and whatnot. But I think more realistically, I probably would have had that part in the funeral where they read the obituary, and instead of them reading the obituary, we would have just panned people while they're going into their own selfish thoughts. I think that would
Yeah,
have been more realistic, but I get it for visual aspects of it.
right. And nobody's dressed in black except for Yellow Heather. She's the only one who's dressed in all black.
Hmm.
Everybody else is
Right.
wearing colors. Um, Green Heather is like super happy that Red Heather is dead because she's always wanted to be red. Even in the first scene when they're playing croquet, she's like, "Well, I want to
Hmm.
be red. You always have to be red." And then that night, Veronica and Yellow Heather go out on a double date with the two jocks from the previous scene that we were talking about, right? Where they do nothing but get drunk and tip cows, which is a horrible thing to do because cows cannot get up by themselves if
Mm.
you tip them. Then of course, then it also gets the girls like covered in mud, right?
Hmm.
Oh, but actually, before this, right in the parking lot of the funeral, these two jocks are bullying some of the geeks, and making them say like they like to do things with other men's private parts,
Yeah.
And JD sees this as well,
Mhm.
and after this date where Veronica is nearly sexually assaulted and Heather is sexually assaulted and nobody does anything about it. Veronica doesn't do anything about it. You know, she goes off with JD because he shows up at the date. She goes off with him and they talk about, like, well, we should, scare the two jocks, we should, I've got these special bullets that'll make it look like they've been killed, but they'll be fine. It'll only make them bleed a little bit. Right.
Yeah.
She believes this for some reason. Oh, when she knows she did not kill Heather, she goes along with JD's plan. And, he's like, we're going to set him up. We're going to make it like they were gay lovers. And like he packs this bag of things that are supposed to be gay things. And so we have like what, mineral water was one of the things. I was like, what? They
I
had
don't
a,
understand the mineral water. Like,
yeah, neither did Veronica. She was like, what? Everybody drinks mineral water. you know. Um, so their plan is to humiliate them in death because when Heather died, she just got more popular, right? So they want to take these guys out. So, they, because the next day after that failed date, they were spreading rumors about Veronica that she did the devil's tango with them, and that wasn't true at all. So she's ready to go along with this idea of scaring them because they're not going to hurt them. There's just some kind of special bullets that make you bleed but don't kill you. Like, girl, you're
hmm
supposed to be the smart one. You wear a
right,
monocle
right,
while you write your diary. What are we doing?
right. But in Veronica's defense, he was pretty convincing.
Yeah, he was convincing. He was convincing, but
Yeah,
also your friend Heather died and she wasn't
yeah,
supposed to. So why would we
right.
go through another plot like this with him?
Yeah, but I feel like she kind of knew that she was about to drink that stuff. Like it wasn't like, oh my god, he did the switcheroo on me and I didn't know. No, she knew. She knew what was up.
I don't think she knew that the Drano was in there or the pipe cleaner was in there.
I think she did.
I don't
I think
know.
she did.
I don't
I
know.
think it's because remember he gave her that kiss, and when he gave her that kiss, that's when she picked up the cup. And then the way that they were talking in the room, I was just like, that's what convinced her was that kiss
Hmm.
to go on ahead and do it.
So they show up to the woods. The two guys show up to the woods. They strip down to their underwear. Um, JD shoots one of them. The other guy goes running, right?
Mhm.
Running, and it's quite a big chase scene. The guy is running for his life in his underwear,
Yeah.
but eventually gets back to where they had begun uh, with Veronica, and she shoots him. He goes down, and of course they're both actually dead. The cops in the town are totally useless. They find the bag with the mineral water, and they're like, "Oh, they were slur word." So
Mhm.
totally useless. So what JD and Veronica do is run back to their car and start making out. And the cop is like, "Oh, I just found these two teens making out. Should I stop them?" And the other cop is like, "Nah, what are they naked?" I'm like, "Wow, gross." And
Right.
the other cop just walks away, thankfully.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. That cop was
So
like,
all
I'm
this
not doing this with you.
is, and then like no, and then all this time, Green Veronica, her color green has been lighter and lighter, right? And she's been trying to fill that popularity vacuum that Red Heather left when she died, right? And so that what really gets us going in the movie is JD goes to her and he's like, "Oh, there's this song that's in the movie called Teenage Suicide. Don't do it." Right?
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, that band is gonna play like a local high school if we get enough signatures for this petition. So I need you to go out there and get these signatures, right?" And the petition is actually a mass suicide note, right? She doesn't know this. And then to also really get her into doing it, he gives her the red scrunchie that Red Heather had worn, which is like her power symbol, right? Because like right before she dies, she takes the scrunchie off, and it's like, oh, she's vulnerable, right? So now the scrunchie is green Heather's scrunchie, and now she's gonna be red, right? But she actually says, "I'm gonna be red." So she starts dressing in all red. She goes all over the school to all the different groups in the popularity, all the different like social groups in the school. She dresses kind of like them to get them to sign the petition and everything. And so she's just like there's a scene of her sitting in the window just like dressed in all red, basking in her popularity basically, right? Because that's what she's wanted is to have that power. And JD has told her, yeah, you need to use that power. Somebody needs to like rule the school. So why shouldn't it be you, basically? And JD is a total psychopath. His father as well. Like it's all about power through force in that family. His mother. committed suicide by staying in a building that his father was blowing up.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and he's a ruthless, cutthroat businessman who will just do whatever it takes to get what he wants. Like just
Yeah.
absolutely no consideration for anyone else. So JD picks this up too, right?
Mhm.
He's going
Now,
to space.
sidebar. I
Mhm.
do like how they talk to one another. Yeah, did
Yeah,
you notice that? Yeah.
yes,
So they
you
talk to
know,
one another in this sarcastic tone, but it's what a positive relationship between one of them would sound like.
hmm,
And they're saying the lines that the other person should be saying.
yeah,
So,
I
like,
like that.
yeah, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, the way he was, where JD is like, "Hello, son," like while
Right?
when his dad walks in the room. Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's pretty much all they get. Because if he goes any deeper, like he starts to talk about his mom, his dad just kind of like shuts down. You don't want that about,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Right. And then,
And we
like,
get
he's looking
other,
at him crazy when he talks about, like, being super obsessed with his job. And showing, remember that one time when he showed the video uh, of the
yes,
building blowing up? And he's just like,
the building that
yeah,
he blew up
yeah,
in a way that was not supposed to happen.
right, right, right. And it's kind of triggering, but his dad don't care.
No, not at all.
So,
He walks in with this tape to show Veronica and JD, and he's super proud of this incredibly illegal act that he's done.
mhm. Right,
He could have
right,
people could have died, like,
right.
but he wouldn't
Seriously,
have. He wouldn't have cared.
he wouldn't have gave a damn.
Mm-mm.
So,
So, she's got that red scrunchie and everything, so she's ruling the school. Meanwhile, Martha is still getting bullied, right? Um, she's like having a really bad day where she's at this, I guess it was a high school basketball game or something, and she's wearing that big fun shirt and she's like trying to finish her soda and then it just spills all over her and it's just like another thing, like how you have a day where it's just like kind of one more thing and it just kind of breaks your back for that day. And so that's what
mhm.
happens for her. And so she decides that she's going to write a suicide note and commit suicide, right? um, because yeah, she's actually going through it. She's the one who's actually being bullied. She's being isolated. Like, her self worth is in the toilet, all that kind of stuff from the way that other people treat her. All
Right,
these other suicides have been murders, um, by JD and Veronica, and other people in the town have used this to boost their own popularity, or like Green Heather, or they're using it to like just kind of boost their ego, like the teacher, I guess, who's supposed to be like the counselor. She's like, we need to have an emotional release regarding these tragic deaths in our school, right?
mhm.
And it sounds like, oh yeah, that's a good thing to do. That'll be, yeah, they really do need that because they're not like suspending school at all for these kids to take some time out.
Right, right.
But it actually just turns out to be a media event for her. She invites the news cameras and everything to come
Mhm.
watch them have this emotional release. So it's not even really about the kids or their emotions, it's about her.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like
Like,
that.
all the teachers were very much so narcissists. They didn't give a
Yes.
damn about those kids,
Mm-mm.
especially that teacher. You know what I'm saying? She was using this to, like, push forward her own
Yeah.
agenda.
Especially because
So,
she pretended like she cared, right? The other teachers
exactly.
did not pretend like they cared.
Right, right. Nobody cared. Nobody
And
cared. So,
um, even Veronica's parents are really kind of shallow. Like, all they do is like have a little snack with her. Her dad asks her, like, why did I do this thing? She's like, because you're stupid, dad. And he's like, oh yeah. And like that's the end of their conversation.
right, right.
And when this whole thing at the school, this emotional outpouring is filmed, they see it on TV and they're like, "Oh, there's Heather. Where are you? Why weren't you there?" Like that's what you're taking away from this.
Right, right. Not the point of why they're at the school,
Right.
but the fact that they're on TV now.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah. So, Martha, you know, pins the suicide note to her shirt and walks out into traffic. And she gets hit, but she's in stable condition, you know. Um, and she's really the only one who's actually done anything to herself. I'm sorry, it's just crazy. Like, this movie is crazy for real.
Yeah.
Um, but Green Heather, who is now like ruling the school, thinks it's just like so hilarious that she lived and everything, and she's over Veronica's house, you know, telling her about it, and Veronica's really kind of had enough, and she's like, "Can we just do something else?" So they go upstairs and listen to this radio program, I guess, where people call in like confess their problems, right? And Yellow Heather calls in, and she doesn't even give a fake name. Like, she says her name is
Yeah.
Heather. She's like, "No, no, it's not." And then she starts telling her entire business to this radio station
Yes. Yes.
because she doesn't have any real friends.
Right.
You
Right.
know, Green Heather and Veronica aren't really her friends,
Right.
right? Veronica left her to be sexually assaulted,
Horrible.
and Green Heather just,
Horrible. It's Green
just
Heather.
abandoned her. Right?
Right.
It's all about her.
Right.
So that next morning, they're in school, and somebody and Green Heather's told everyone about what Yellow Heather said on the radio, and they've written a note on the chalkboard that says "Poor little Heather," and you know, Heather's like having a great time because she's a victim of sexual assault, and everybody's laughing at her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so she runs out of the room, and then Veronica runs after her, intercepts her, trying to take a bunch of pills to kill herself
Yeah. She
because
had a
she is
whole
experiencing.
mouthful.
Yeah, I was like, how did she even get all those in there?
Right. Like
How
she
was she?
was
How
not
was she
gonna
going to
swallow them.
swallow? I don't
Right.
know.
She was not
Um,
gonna swallow them.
You're going to drive heat everything back.
Right.
Um, because she is also another person who's experiencing real pain, but nobody sees that.
Right.
So they're able to, you know, intervene with her overdosing. It shows she's still alive. Veronica comes home. Her parents said they've been visited by JD. JD has told them, you know, they need to watch her because he feels like she might kill herself because they've broken up, right? They've gotten together and then broken up and gotten together, and like, you know, Veronica's had enough of unintentionally killing people. So, you know, she's like, this is over. I can't do this anymore. And like, she breaks up with him at his father's house, which I thought was funny because like the
Mm-hmm.
two of them together is like, oh my God, like I need to leave or I
Right.
might be murdered, right?
Right.
Um, so what she does is like, oh, he's trying to get her to like, he also was trying to get her to kill the other Heather, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
basically his whole thing is like, well, if we're all dead, then social stratification won't exist and we'll all get along.
Yeah. Simple. Right.
Uh, what? You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, he writes this note to let her know that yes, he can, you know, he can um, do her handwriting too. You know, if she kills herself, he'll just leave a note, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's got like this Barbie doll hanging in her room, which is just like really creepy, you know. Um, and they have this dream. You know, they were talking about killing, you know, the last Heather, and there's this dream sequence of her funeral where they have the priest dressed up in a dashiki for some reason. And then like, you know, a bunch of the classmates are there dressed in all white and wearing like 3D glasses because it's just like this dream sequence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she dreams of Red Heather as well, and she wakes up because her mother is like calling her for dinner, and later on, she um, she actually fakes her own suicide. So she like it hanging like the doll, but she ties it around her waist as well, so she does
Right.
not actually die. And JD finds her that way. He thinks she's committed suicide, and then
Mm-hmm.
her mother comes into the room, and then she, drops out of it and everything. Her mom's like, "Oh, we should have let me taken that job at the mall. I just didn't want you to
Yeah.
be home late." Like
Right.
that was
Like
why you think she would kill herself?
yeah. That that was completely unrealistic. It was laughable because it
Yeah.
was like, huh? You really
Because
think she was killing someone for a
everything in this
job?
town is just very surface, very
Yeah,
surface. We don't talk about
right.
any real emotions.
Right, like this, but this is like your only child, and you just walked in on seeing her hanging from the ceiling, and you think it's about a job that you didn't let her take.
Hmm. Yeah,
It's,
and so while when JD finds her and he thinks that she's dead, he of course reveals his whole plan to blow up the school during the pep rally, and that like the petition was uh, a giant goodbye note from the entire class.
mhm,
Um, so she hears all this. Thankfully, she didn't. She doesn't actually move, but he's trying to make it look like a mass suicide. And he basically takes his father's idea from his father illegally blew up that building, and that's what he's going to do at the school. So Veronica actually shows up to school the next day, which I don't remember JD being like too shocked about it because he thought she was dead, you know.
mhm,
Um, and she confronts him in the boiler room where he's like planting some of the dynamite. So he's going to plant some dynamite in the boiler room and then some upstairs to give that extra explosion, basically. And they fight. She shoots him. He cuts the detonator with his switchblade. Like they're really going for it, and
mhm.
they get down to like 4 seconds, which is the number of people who have died in the movie, including someone soon who dies in the whole movie. And like yeah, because she's like scratched up and bloody and stuff when they're done fighting. Um, he really wanted to kill everybody like oh badly.
Mhm.
So she leaves. She actually leaves, and he follows her outside with the bomb strapped to his chest. He talks about his own kind of like personal eulogy kind of thing, and he's like, now that you're dead, because like she had killed herself, fake killed
Mhm.
herself. How are you going to live the rest of your life or whatever? And he blows himself up. Students and faculty come outside. Uh, you know, and she actually goes back into the school as everybody's coming outside, runs into Green Heather, takes the red scrunchie from her, puts it on herself. Basically saying, Duke is no longer, or this Green Heather is no longer in charge. Like we're not going to have this old guard anymore. It's going to be something new. And she actually walks over to Martha and like asks her, "Hey, you want to watch movies with me on prom night? Because I'm not going." You know.
Yeah.
And Heather's like not Heather. I'm sorry. So used to saying Heather so many times.
Mhm.
Martha has her first and only line in the movie where she tells her like, yeah, she would love to do that.
Right, right. I didn't even realize that we didn't hear her voice until the very end.
The very end, she never speaks.
Right. Yeah. So,
So this was your first time seeing this
yes,
movie, Lindsay.
yes,
What
this was
did you
my
think?
first time. Um, it was definitely entertaining. I did like the movie. I did like the movie. I can definitely see where other movies that I like pull from
Mm-hmm.
it, like
Mm-hmm.
Clueless, like Jawbreaker, Mean Girls.
Yes.
I definitely see how they pull from this movie. So, yeah. So I definitely did like it. I did notice from the gate how Christian Slater sounded just like Jack Nicholson. I was like, is this on
Well,
purpose or
he
what?
did. Well, there is that scene in the kitchen, right, where
Uh
he has the knife and he's talking about killing the last Heather,
huh. Uh huh.
and he is channeling Jack Nicholson at that point. It's Jack Nicholson's performance in oh gosh, the one that was actually directed by Kubrick, where he's in the hotel.
They said it in that video that you sent me to. Um,
Yes.
I can't remember, but but yeah, that's how I knew I wasn't tripping when I watched that video. I was like, okay, I'm not tripping. This is definitely on purpose. Cause
No, no, you're not tripping. You're not tripping at all. He was definitely at that point. And I remember, like, even before I watched that movie, or not that movie, but that video, I was like, it's kind of giving me, especially that scene where he bursts through with his head through the door. Nicholson does. I was
yeah,
like, yeah,
The Shining.
The Shining. Yes.
Yeah, yeah, but I caught that. I caught his name. being close to James Dean.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah, so like this movie pulled from stuff, and then a lot of movies pulled from it. So
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
appreciate that. But yeah, but it was enjoyable. I definitely enjoyed it. Um,
Cool.
yeah.
So
Now
do you
when
think
you
they could
watch it,
remake this movie?
um, I definitely think they can, but they
Hmm.
will have to change a couple of things. Um, we're definitely gonna have to get more serious about the suicide thing with kids.
Hmm.
You know, and then of course, some of the slurs can't fly in 2022. Um, but I can definitely see them redoing it.
Yeah, I think there's definitely like a difference in storytelling that you would have to take, because they are showing how nobody, especially the parents or authorities in this town, take anything that's happening to the teenagers seriously at all.
Right.
But you don't really pick that up, because it's not commented on, right?
Yeah.
No one says anything like that, and you could have had a comment like that maybe from Martha having a second line in the movie, like
Hmm.
you know. Um,
Yeah.
you don't really the movie doesn't really draw your attention to the fact that Yellow Heather is suffering from all this stuff because she was sexually assaulted and abandoned by her friend.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
really.
I feel like if they were to do it in present day, they
Mhm.
would have to make the adults non-existent for the most part
Well, no,
because
I like the adults being there. I just think that a little bit of extra is not needed.
but then you'll make it too serious.
It's pretty serious to me, actually. Like,
Yeah, but the thing is that like because these are serious topics that you have to take very seriously,
mhm,
and for it to still keep the essence of it being a dark comedy,
mhm.
we can't get too serious.
Well, I
So,
think you could have somebody just say like, "Man, none of these adults really care about us," or something like that, and just
but I
leave it
feel
at
like
that.
them not being present on film would show
Mhm.
them not caring.
You could do that too. Yeah, their
Yeah,
absence can speak a lot.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, I
yeah,
get that.
yeah.
So
Cause
this movie, when it came out, it cost $3 million to make. It only made $1.1 million back, so that was considered a flop, of
oh,
course.
a huge flop.
Huge flop. So it actually gained a lot more popularity, as a cult classic kind of movie.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I wonder how much it made. Like while it's been a cult classic.
Well, it's hard to know, right? Because like you don't really get a lot of that until something is on video or
Hmm.
it's showing on TV.
Right, right, right. That's why I'm curious to know, like how much revenue did it make after it started gaining momentum as a cult classic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, but but yeah, but yeah, I can definitely see why people would be drawn to this movie because I mean it is entertaining and it is silly, you know.
Yeah, they kind of made up their own kind of language for the kids to use in the film, like the whole thing of using very to
Hmm.
mean something. Because I would be like, very what? But they just
Yeah.
doesn't.
Right.
So,
And I understood what they were saying. It's
mhm.
very, period, full stop. So yeah, but yeah. So um, now when this was filmed or not filmed, but when this was out in the theaters and whatnot, did you see it in the theaters or how did you come
Oh
across it?
no. Yeah. So this came out in 1989, March of 1989, which means I would have been 5 years old. So
Yeah,
no,
no, you definitely
my
did.
parents were not letting me see this.
Right,
Um,
right.
I saw it many, many, many years later on TV.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
It's currently playing on Amazon Prime for free. I think it's also on Tubi for free as well.
Yeah, that's where I watched it too.
Hmm.
So yeah.
Do you think
So
your mother would have let you seen something like this as a 5-year-old, 6-year-old?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh.
This wouldn't have been that. I mean, she would have been like, "Why are you watching that?" But
Oh yeah.
yeah, compared to the stuff that I did watch as a kid, because we went to the movies and saw Child's Play too. So, and that was
Oh
out
wow.
around the same time. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. This was lightweight compared to Child's Play too. I think that one.
Really? Oh my goodness.
I think that was one and two are like two of the scariest movies. Yeah. And when I saw Child's Play 2, I looked at the screen twice. I was so freaking scared. Like
Oh.
I was this the
Yeah.
whole time.
That would have scared me as a kid for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Those are some scary movies. But yeah, so with our rating system, we have one movie real trash AF, two it exists, three entertaining, four great, five a true classic. Maria, what
What
say
do you?
you?
Nah, Lindsay. What do you say? I want to hear you go first.
um I would give it 3.5.
Okay.
Yeah, I would give it 3.5.
3.5. Why 3.5?
Um, because again, it was entertaining. I did like it. I wouldn't put it all the way up there with great, but I do appreciate it, and I do recognize the impact that it did on culture. Again, with all the movies that it was that it stemmed from, you
Mhm.
know, so or that
Yeah.
stemmed from it rather.
Right. The cultural relevance is still very strong.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. I would probably give it the same actually. Um, I'm just detracting points for things that can be done better, honestly.
Yeah,
Right. But it is. I'd probably give it a 4 though, because it is iconic. It really is.
yeah,
And some of the lines that were used were very quotable and got very popular. I knew some of the lines before I even saw some of the movie. Before I saw some of the movie, or knew where it came from. Like, oh,
uh-huh.
that's where that comes from.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, it has an incredibly strong influence on the teen movies we saw as teens or young adults, right?
hmm,
And the musical is still going, so there's
yeah,
still an audience for it.
yeah,
So it definitely tapped into something that was not being explored at the time, and I think that's pretty important. Um, wouldn't quite call it a classic, but very important to movies and pop
yeah.
culture.
Right, right, right. So that was a 1989's Heather's. Um,
Yes,
did did you come across anything that explained the reason why the girls had to have the name Heather?
those were their names. They were just named Heather.
But why did they choose to do
I don't know.
that? And that I did have like why
Mhm.
like what was the point in it?
Heather's just like was just like a name for popular girls. So Heather, you're all Heather.
Mm, yeah, I get that.
I guess to like kind of display their unity in popularity,
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, I
and
can
then
see that.
also make Veronica stick out more.
Yeah, right. Because she was the oddball that I'm surprised that they let hang with,
Right.
especially because her name wasn't Heather. So yeah, okay. So let's see. Let's look at this list here.
Yes. What will I be watching next week?
Yeah. Let's see. What have we here that is easy to watch? Um. Let's see. Have you seen a thin line between love and hate?
I have.
You have. Okay.
Mhm.
Um. Have you seen? You haven't seen a low down dirty shame, have you?
Probably not.
Okay, let me see.
I remember the songs.
Yeah, let me see where that's at. If I can spell it right. You gotta pay for it.
Oh no.
Let's hold off on that one.
Okay.
So, what about I'm gonna get you, sucker?
No, I've definitely never seen that.
All right, let me see where that's at. Um, that is on Hulu under what?
It looks like it's a premium subscription, but I can't tell from who.
Oh, Cinemax.
Cinemax is still around?
Yeah,
I had no idea.
right. Let me see. It says Amazon Prime, so hold on.
But they're all premium subscription. I was just like, who is this? But yeah, you're right. It's Cinemax. Wow. I don't have Cinemax, so
Yeah, I don't either. Let's see.
I legitimately did not know they were still around.
Uh, um, wait, hold on. What's it? Yeah, I'm gonna get you, suckers. Still, you still gotta buy it. Okay, so no to both of them. Try to hold out until they get on something free. Um, let's see. All right, what about CB4?
What?
CB4, I have this on. Uh,
Yeah, no, I've never heard of
okay,
this.
you've never heard of CB4? Oh,
Mm-mm.
we are absolutely watching. I had this in '93 when it came out. It's terrible, but yeah. Okay, so it's on Stars. Do you have Stars? You have Stars,
Yeah, I have
right?
stars. This
Okay.
looks like it's a parody or something.
It's a mockumentary.
Mockumentary. Okay. Are
Yeah.
there any other
I
movies that I would need to see to get it though? You know what I'm saying?
um you can enjoy it. You can enjoy it without knowing all the rest.
Okay.
But let's see. Have we watched Boys in the Hood? It's actually it's more of a mockumentary of NWA.
Of
So
what? NWA.
of NWA and
Okay.
gangster music as a whole.
Okay.
So you don't really need to see a movie to get it
Okay.
because they're mocking um, a genre of music, not a
Got
movie.
it.
So, um, but yeah, yeah. So it would definitely be CB4 next week. You know, it's so funny
Okay.
because I had it on tape when I was a kid, and I have it on DVD as an adult. It is
All right.
an it's an awesome freaking movie. So, um, but yeah,
Okay. I put it
so
on my
that would
watch list.
cool, cool. So that would be next week. So Maria, where can I find you?
You can find me on Instagram or Twitter or TikTok at Valor More Dollars. That's VALARMOR dollars. I'm also on a podcast with five other Black women where we talk nerdy things called Nerdgasm Noir. So you can find me there too. Lindsay, where can they find you?
You can find me everywhere under the handle L underscore Renelle. That's L underscore RANELLE. Um, and also, I do have another podcast as well called The Ish We Talk, where we talk about various topics.
How'd it go this week?
This past week, it went pretty well. One of the topics that we talked about was that these videos that are popping up where these men are flying out these women and they're expecting to have sex with them, and the women are telling them no, and they're putting them on blast. So we talked about that. We all was in agreement that you shouldn't expect that. That should be a discussion prior to you flying somebody out, and that you shouldn't get flown out without having money because you just never know.
You always have to have mad money, as my mom called it,
Exactly.
mad money. So if you get
Absolutely.
mad, you can go on.
Right, right. Like I don't need you, nor your little punk ass return flight. I'll get my own. So
Hmm.
yeah. So yeah. So that was one of the various things that we talked about.
Okay.
So
Well, roomies, thank you for joining us this week as we go through Lindsay's first ever time watching The Heathers. Please give us a thumbs up, share the video, share the podcast, leave a review. We want to hear from you guys. We'll know what you think. If there's something you think we should watch next, leave it in the form of a review or a comment, and we will definitely consider it because there's many things we have not seen.
yes, yes, absolutely. So until next week, bye.
Bye. God, what's